Hi, and welcome to Dark Window. I'm your host, Jim Mann. Here on this program, I will be talking with many of the leading investigators, researchers, and authors on the topics of UFOs, UAPs, alien abductions, extraterrestrials, and a host of many other fascinating and related topics. So please join me and my guest for the next hour as we reach out. This is Dark Window on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And hello, everyone. Welcome to Dark Window. I'm your host, Jim Mann, and tonight we have part 4 of the UFO Crash Retrievals series with Michael Schratt, aviation historian. And so, hello, Michael. How are you doing this evening?
Hello, Jim and Patricia. Good to be with you. Yes, we're definitely going to continue our examination of the Leonard Stringfield files. And these were compiled over a series of decades, and at least 7 status reports were made available to the general public. However, there was a collection of material, which were the internal secretarial dictation notes, which were a little bit more private, and we'll delve into some of those cases this evening here. First one is reference number 53, and it was a Navy captain who was known as PJ. He was a pilot for Braniff Airlines, and he encountered a 30-foot diameter dish-shaped craft inside one of the hangars at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And so this is 1963. I've got at least 12 separate cases now of military personnel either accidentally or on purpose working with dish-shaped craft at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. There's like 12 separate cases. They're all converging at the same place. In fact, what I've also noticed is that when these people saw these craft in the hangars, the word indicates that lab coat technicians were desperately trying to breach the hull of these craft with diamond tip drill bits. I've got separate cases with different craft, different timelines, still at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, where they're using these diamond tip drill bits to get into these craft. So it appears the government has been working on a crash program to reverse engineering the propulsion systems and the metal structure, the tensile strength structure of these craft. So again, this is 1963, and we'll go ahead and move on to the next case. Now, this is very important. This case was part of the Stringfield collection. A man by the name of Michael Johnstone. He interviewed the actual primary eyewitness on this case. He was a Marine, and this is December 1963, literally a few weeks after Kennedy was assassinated, November 22nd, 1963. And this is Cherry Point, North Carolina. Source is Crash Retrievals, page 152, case 2. So this Marine is called out of bed. It's like at the dead of night, and he's told to board a plane that has blacked out windows. He gets on the plane, and he flies approximately 3 hours by plane from Cherry Point, North Carolina, to a destination that he didn't know where it was. And we'll move forward here just to show you where this Cherry Point, North Carolina station is. That's where it is on the pin on the map. That shows you exactly what the area is where he took off from. So this is north of Havelock. And we'll move forward here. So they land at this facility, and when they get to this facility, whatever this building was, facility, hangar, these hangar doors open up, and he sees a 40-foot diameter dish-shaped craft propped up on scaffolding. And it had about 9 elliptically shaped opaque windows wrapped around the outer circumference of the craft. It looked like a fat hamburger. It was about 15 feet tall. If you look on this bottom view here, I've got these red dots. And these red dots are the attempted points of entry where they were trying to get into this craft. Now, there's a couple bullet items here on top I want to go over. Number 1, surface finish polished aluminum. Number 2, craft contains smoke glass windows. Number 3, attempted entry with a cutting torch / laser failed, in addition to diamond tip drill bits. Next one, craft was seen at an undisclosed location, military base, and then craft departed facility on a flatbed trailer. So those are just a couple of quick bullet items. Now, this Marine told Michael Johnstone that when he was guarding this craft and when he saw it, it was propped up on scaffolding. So I did kind of an AutoCAD drawing, and this is the full color rendering by my friend Joseph Wraith. And if you look at the bottom view here, you can definitely see these red dots, which are the attempted points of the entry. And it had this kind of polished aluminum exterior, and there was a 1-inch lip between the outer surface of the skin itself and the outer window portion, this 1-inch lip that you could actually feel with your hands. And we'll move forward here. So 3D color graphics and images by expert illustrator and animator Joseph Wraith. I want to make sure he gets credit for this work here. Now, these are the 3 attempts that they made to get into this craft. Number 1, diamond tip drill bits. Number 2, acetylene torch. Number 3 was a laser. All 3 failed. So my question is, if this is 63 and we're in 2022 now, what progress have they made? And if they have made progress, have they implemented that technology into our fighter aircraft? Because if we could build our fighter aircraft out of the material of these crash retrievals, we'd have a jump on the competition, no doubt.
Michael,
Okay.
Can I jump in here for a minute?
Okay, go right ahead.
We already covered in part 1.
We already covered this one. Okay.
Yeah, we were past.
Yeah, I can move forward.
I think we were way in past the airplane, the aircraft.
This would be after that case.
Okay, I don't think we've covered that yet. I
Fort
just want to
Riley.
make sure that we cover everything.
Yeah, I don't want to cover something we've already covered.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I don't think we've covered this yet. I'm sorry.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to full zone.
Yeah,
here.
go right ahead, please do.
Okay,
Yes.
so that's going to kind of slightly out of place here, but we'll get there.
It's all right. We'll just roll forward.
Yeah, we'll just roll forward. Okay, so now we're basically at the
Yeah, we
point
covered
where-
all of this.
I don't believe we
Don't
covered-
remember this one. We went so far as to where we talked about the aircraft that Elvis Presley owned at one time.
That was back on the Roswell case.
That was on the Roswell case.
Yeah,
We haven't
and
covered.
we're not going to cover any of that material.
Okay, well, we
It's
haven't
already-
covered. Yes, we haven't.
Yeah, we don't want to
have
be
not-
redundant. All right, so this is Fort Riley, Kansas, December 10th, 1964. The primary eyewitness was a private first class, and this is Crash Retrievals, page 24, abstract 20 by Leonard Stringfield. So the point here is, I just don't want people thinking that I'm making these cases up. You're free to get the book that Leonard published. It's on Amazon, and you can read all these details and get a real kind of an inside track of what was actually going on with these cases. So this is a case where there were actually 3 other witnesses with the primary eyewitness. They kind of boarded this 6 by troop transport. They went from Fort Riley, Kansas, kind of sort of within the base there. There was a clearing, and I'm going to show you where this actually took place. Map of Camp Forsyth, which indicates the general area where the UFO came down. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. So they park this truck, they all get off, they walk another half mile into a clearing, and when they get to this clearing, they end up seeing this. Now, this was December 10th, 1964, not 1965. They saw a 48-foot diameter dish-shaped craft, 18 feet tall. It had these interesting square protrusions coming out of the outer circumference of the craft. It had a fin on one back surface, and then this bulge, which might have been some type of propulsion system, we don't know. And I want to take you to a full color rendering. This was the first pass on getting this case illustrated. A very unusual looking craft, not too common that we've seen this configuration before with all these box-like structures jutting out. And then this is the drawing that Rudy did for me, and the primary eyewitness said that it was at night. There was a UH-1 Huey helicopter hovering overhead. It had a spotlight shining down. There were men standing around this craft with Geiger counters. So they were checking something. And he guarded this thing for a number of hours, got up close. There were MPs around it, military personnel. And I wouldn't bring up this case with the fact that there were 2 other quote-unquote witnesses after this case took place that confirmed seeing almost the identical craft at the same location, the same base. So we have 3 witnesses that appear to have seen this particular craft. A U.S. Army M123 tractor trailer was used during the recovery operation. So some type of Army tractor trailer looking almost identical to this is what they used to transport the craft from the landing site. The second witness stated that the members of the retrieval team, they wore these chemical biological protective suits and masks. So this was, again, a third eyewitness who was involved. Next one. This is a crazy case. This is almost pushing the level of credibility here, but I thought it's important to include it because it's within the Stringfield collection. So this is U.S. Air Force Museum, Dayton, Ohio, 1965, and this is page 153, case 3. So I'm going to set the scene here. There's a couple, they're at the Air Force Museum, and they walk up to the V2 rocket display, which is what you see right here. This is a V2 rocket, and you can see this today. It's sitting right there today. So you've got the couples just admiring this technology, rocket technology, and he leaves his wife standing looking at this V2 rocket display. And this guy wanders off. He wanders through the museum. He kind of goes down this hallway, and then there's these double doors that said off limits. And he kind of went through those doors. He wasn't supposed to do this, but he walked through those doors, and he found something incredible, something that pushes the level of reality here. He ends up seeing a strange 3.5 to 4 foot tall, I wouldn't even call it humanoid looking being, but it was wearing a wrinkled Mercury era spacesuit that was silver in color. He had a helmet on. The retractable visor appeared to be open. This thing had oversized eyes, slit for a mouth, minute nose. He was pointing to this gentleman. And while all this is going on, literally 15 seconds after this guy encountered this being in this off-limits room, these buzzers and sirens and lights went off, and all of these military personnel were ushering people out of the Air Museum in a hurry, in an absolute hurry. So what this means is that there's a strong possibility that there's an underground tunnel system connecting Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, Air Material Command, the biological medical lab facility there, with the Air Museum. It's hard to believe, but maybe this thing or whatever it was escaped its containment area and got in an underground tunnel and ended up in the Air Force Museum, if you can believe it, but it's part of the Stringfield case. Next one. Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, 1966, Civil Servants Electrician, page 17, abstract 13. So, what's going on with this case? 1966. This was a case where a gentleman who worked at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, he came back home, his 2 sons were there, and he kind of had this trench coat on, and he said, you know what, I want to show you something. So he pulled out of his breast pocket a black and white glossy, 8x10 black and white glossy of, you could call it a alien or humanoid looking being propped up and being held by, on the left, a white coat lab coat technician, and on the right there was a man who was wearing khakis. This was in a southern kind of Arizona or western, maybe New Mexico setting. There was definitely mountains in the background. There were cacti there, so it was definitely in the Southwest. And he showed his son, who was shocked about all this, and he said he couldn't keep it. The next day he brought it back to the base, but they discovered it was missing, and he got fired over this. That's what happened on this case. So again, the proof is always 2 steps ahead of us, but he held it in his hand. Next one, Fort Hood, Texas, late 1960s. This is page 91. Very significant case here. Now, anyone who's done any research on Fort Hood will know that there's a tremendous amount of helicopter activity, especially the twin rotor CH-47s are always coming and going from this facility. And within Fort Hood is something called Robert Gray Army Airfield. And you can see this aerial photograph here, and we want to keep that in mind. So Gray Army Airfield is directly connected and within the boundaries of Fort Hood. This is all in Texas. And we've heard multiple reports of UFOs being escorted by military helicopters. So it appears that this is kind of a base or jumping off point for test flights of classified aircraft and UFOs. That appears to be the case here. So let's set the scene here. It's late 1960s, so we're talking 68, 69 timeframe, and this is from the Springfield collection. We've got a Cessna 172 pilot who made an emergency landing on a dirt kind of runway at Gray Army Airfield in Texas. The second he got out, there was a Jeep screaming over to meet him. Two MPs pull out their pistol, was basically pointing it to the pilot, and you can see that on the upper left here. This is drawing by Rudy Gardea. He gets credit for this. Now, while all this is going on, there's this huge, and I'm talking huge, 300 foot by 300 foot bypass door that just opens up right next to where all this is going on. And what it had on top is it had foliage, it had trees, it had shrubbery, it kind of had a dirt scene. So it blended in with the background. You wouldn't know it was there if you weren't looking for it, but that's what he saw. And what was inside it's just incredible. Definitely CH-47 helicopters jumping off point. There was a computer bank there, early computer technology. He said that there were autonomous robots going back and forth, kind of like guarding the area. So I thought, okay, what would you have in this thing? Well, you'd have the CH-47s because they're ushering in the saucers. Later, years later, you'd have an original prototype or the original of the December 29th, 1980 Huffman, Texas Cash Landrum incident craft, which is the double ice cream cone you see there. You'd have dish-shaped craft, and then you have the March 22nd, 1966 Temple, Oklahoma case by Eddie Laxon. That would be here too. So bottom line here is that Fort Hood appears to be a massive underground facility for a below ground runway first. Number two, a storage for man-made UFO test flights, and then definitely UH-1s and CH-47 twin rotor, double rotor helicopters, all coming from this underground facility.
Well, Michael, would this be back engineered technology?
Well, the Temple, Oklahoma would most likely not be back engineered. The Cash Landrum was allegedly an alien craft with a hybrid propulsion system and a manned piloted system. So that's what was the backstory there. The dish-shaped craft could be ours or theirs, but bottom line is there is an underground facility at Fort Hood. There's no question about it.
Okay.
For decades, there's been reports of UFOs being ushered by our helicopters. So they know what's going on. Whether they're alien craft or our attempts to replicate the technology, difficult to say. I'd say it's both.
So this is some pretty exotic technology here.
Some pretty exotic technology, yeah.
And then, it's not necessarily designed and constructed by our own resources. This could be retrieved. It's alien technology.
It's possible. Now, I take a more conservative approach, so I'm thinking that a lot of this is our technology that we've been throwing billions of black budget funding that bypasses congressional oversight and public scrutiny.
Oh yeah,
that I think is the majority of it. But there does appear, if the crash retrievals are real, which they are real, they're going to bring them somewhere, right? They're going to bring them to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base to put them in the metal labs and see if we can reverse engineer the molecular structure and put that into our aircraft. But then they'd spread some of those assets to other locations. This could be one of them where they're doing these test flights. And that's what this report says. It's about a 4-page report. And they go into detail how these witnesses, we're talking about 73 timeframe here. These witnesses are seeing these helicopters, one on either side, and a dish-shaped craft in the center. It's like they're standing by for a test flight. So if anything goes wrong, they can cover it up or retrieve the pilots. they have foreknowledge. This is actually going on. So to be, just the bottom line is there is an entire secret black budget world going on beneath our feet, and we don't even know it.
So I think it's safe to say, excuse me, I think it's safe to assume that these projects and these craft, they are not something that our members of Congress, our members of the Senate, our local state officials like the governor. This is stuff that only certain departments in the Department of Defense would know about, and maybe the Pentagon.
That's right. Because these things bypass Congress. They bypass the House and Senate Armed Services Committee, and this has nothing to do with your rank. You could be a 4-star general, and you would not be read into these programs.
Not know about this.
It has to do with, are you going to toe the party line? Is how this works. It doesn't matter if you're an honest person. It doesn't matter if you're a nice person. It doesn't matter if you outrank people below you. If they feel that you will tell this information to other people and spread it, they'll never read you into these programs. So you could be way down on the totem pole and still get read in if you're going to continue with the cover-up. And so that's how this game is played.
This is very fascinating here.
And, we've even got the tube shuttle system here, too, because I've got an article from LA Times where they talked about 10,000 mile an hour tube train system. So
I see that. And that's what's in that hangar or that
below the computer bank
bay over there. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, information from the RAND Corporation talks about how we've mastered the air, we've mastered the sea, and now we're going to master underground tube tunnel systems. And this is like 1959 they're talking about this, so they've had plenty of time to work all this out. And I'm just fascinated that there is such a world below us, and we don't even know it. It's just an incredible technology. It's amazing how they've been able to keep this under wraps for all these years. And the way I think about it is that this story is too crazy to be true. So in effect, what that means is it has its own automatic built-in protection system right into itself, because it's so crazy, no one would believe it. And so that's how they're able to keep it under wraps. So let's move forward here. This is just an example of the type helicopters that are seen, constantly coming out of these facilities here. Is there a vast top secret underground facility located at Gray Army Airfield? I think we can say yes. I think we can say there is. Next one, Great Lakes Naval Training Center, 1973. This was a gunnery school instructor, and he was told to guard a Quonset-style building. Again, Great Lakes Naval Training Center, 1973. This is page 89, case A7. So he's guarding this Quonset-style hut, and then this vehicle pulls up, and a gentleman hands a very important letter to this guard, and he's told to deliver this important letter to the commanding officer inside. So he's met by these two muscular CB guards. They go down this hallway, they make a left-hand turn, and when they get to the end of the hallway, it opens up into a vast, you could call it a hangar facility. And this guy got a good look at what's inside here. And I want to kind of show you. This was a 35-foot long teardrop-shaped craft. It had a blue coronal discharge kind of wrapped around the leading edge of it. It was bulbous in the front and tapered back at a point at the back. It was 12 feet high. And this was my first attempt to draw this thing. There was a ridge running from one side to the other. And when I reread the report, I now believe it's going from the top forward section all the way up to the spine, and then tapering back to the end of the craft itself over the top of the craft. That's how I believe that this ridge is actually shown. So I'm going to show you the final rendering that Rudy had done, and this gives you an idea. Now, the whole thing was propped off the floor on a 2-foot tall wooden platform. He mentioned that as well. And he delivered the letter. He kind of did an about face. He couldn't stay there long, but he got a good look at this thing. So this is back in 1973. this looks like it could be a USO, and we've got some good documentation to back that up. Now, while all this is going on, this gentleman, before all this happened, he met someone at a bar. This is kind of weird, but this gentleman who saw this craft in this hangar here, he met a gentleman at a bar who was on a guided missile destroyer, and he said that they shot down a UFO. This was off the coast of Hawaii. They eventually brought it back to San Diego, and then they brought it to Great Lakes Naval Training Center. So we've got two independent sources now, and that brings us to the Glomar Explorer. This gentleman that he met at the bar told this guy that the way they recovered it was with Howard Hughes's Glomar Explorer, which was always involved in mining operations and gems, but Howard Hughes always had a secret thing going on here. And I'm going to forward here to this Honolulu Advisor, August 19th, 1974, mystery ship shifts anchorage. And then we'll move forward one more here. And now you can see A Matter of Risk, the incredible inside story of the CIA's Hughes Glomar Explorer mission to raise a Russian submarine. And you can see you've got the Russian submarine at the bottom of the ocean. This is off the coast of Hawaii. And you've got the Clementine device with these grappling prongs. And during 1973 to 1974, a Russian submarine was recovered from the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. However, that's not all that was recovered. This gentleman that I mentioned in the bar, he said that they used Howard Hughes's Glomar Explorer to retrieve this craft. So not only did it retrieve the Russian submarine, but this thing was used to retrieve downed USOs. That appears to be what's actually going on here. How CIA divers retrieved Russian secrets. This is San Francisco Examiner, March 19th, 1975. So the real question is, beside the Russian submarine, what else did the Glomar Explorer get? What else did they recover? And what did they learn from the recoveries? That's the questions that we should be looking at here. Now, next one, Norton Air Force Base, 1973 Air Force photographer. This is page 160, case 14. This has to do with a photographer who was based in Hawaii. He got his security clearance upgraded, so they flew from Hawaii to Norton Air Force Base, where he met another photographer. They get inside this car. They drive an hour from Norton Air Force Base to some location, and the car stops. The car just stops dead. All of a sudden, the car drops down on a platform. And so now they're in a vast underground facility. They both get out. They go to a room. They're told to undress completely nude and then don these, you could call it clean room smocks, kind of with a face covering here, almost like a biohazard suit. And when they get out of that, they see something incredible. And I'm going to forward here. This is what they see. They see a crane, and then the crane has in this netting a 30-foot diameter dish-shaped craft. And so they're brought into the hatch of this craft, and the first thing that this guy said is, I've got it quoted here, quote, "I could have thrown a football as hard as I could and not hit the other side." And this thing is only 30 feet in diameter, but yet this guy can throw a football and not hit the other side. So something was going on. A space-time continuum, a time warp, a gravity well, something was going on.
Wait a minute. Let's stop there a minute.
Yes.
I think you kind of lost me on that.
Huh.
Now, the craft is only 30 feet wide.
That's right.
Are you talking that the hangar that this craft is in is so huge?
No, the craft itself. His job was to photograph the interior of the craft. From the outside, it only looks 30 feet in diameter, which is what you see here in the netting.
Okay.
So when they went inside the hatch, I don't know if you can see the hatch on this drawing here.
Up here, these little. Okay, I follow you.
You see the hatch there? So when they went inside the hatch, it looked 100 times bigger on the inside than it did on the outside. And so that's what Rudy has drawn here on the upper left detail view. I told him, Rudy, I want you to give me this cavernous interior. And that's what he did. So his job was to photograph the interior of this craft, these buttons and switches and dials and levers and display screens and monitors. It was massive inside. And when he got inside, he said, oh my, I can throw a football as hard as I can, and I still can't hit the other side. But this thing is only 30 feet across. So there was something strange, Jim, going on the inside of this craft that made it appear as though it was just cavernous. And I don't know what that is.
That's an unbelievable control of physics that we know nothing about.
Yes, something optical, something visual, something to do with a gravity well. We don't know, but that's what it was on the inside. Now, when he was done photographing, and he had the other guy there too, he was photographing as well. They got out of the craft and they went to another room where they were conducting an autopsy on 3 humanoid-looking beings. So in a nutshell, that's what this case entailed. So we've got this crane here, we've got the concrete walls, we've got the conduit pipes, we've got the grating of the exhaust vents. Again, underground facility. So now we've got one an hour from Norton Air Force Base. We've got Fort Hood Gray Army Airfield, that's 2. There's no doubt that there's an underground facility at Wright Field, Dayton, Ohio. So there's 3 right off the bat. I know that in 1967, there was a classified library at MacDill Air Force Base. I don't know about an underground facility there, but that's location number 3. We're pushing 4 now, and then Langley Air Force Base as well. So these are where these secrets are being kept. But I thought that it was important to highlight this only for the fact that there was something very odd going on the inside of this craft.
There's something odd going on inside my head right now, trying to kind of get wrapped around this.
Yep.
This is some exotic stuff here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Michael. Keep going.
Oh,
yeah.
No doubt. Okay, so now I added the tube channel system here because of this article. Los Angeles Times, June 11th, 1972. LA to New York in half an hour. 10,000 mile an hour tunnel train plan developed. This is in 1972. All right, it's 2022. They've had plenty of time to work this out. They know exactly what they're doing. And if we're reading about this in 72, then they already have the technology. They already know what to do. And so I don't doubt for 1 minute that these underground facilities are connected by a high-speed tunnel system, some type of maglev train system or something. It's a done deal. Do an enlargement here. These are what these things look like. And it's a technology that they've already got. So there's no reason to believe that they don't have this technology already implemented and in the field now. All right, next one. McClellan Air Force Base, California, 1973. This is page 153, case 3. Now, this has to do with a test pilot by the name of Ellison Onizuka, who later became an astronaut. And he's at this facility, again, McClellan Air Force Base, 1973. He goes into a pilot briefing room. There's about 12 other pilots there. And the lights go down. And there's kind of this military general in the back there. He's by a motion picture film projector. He turns on this film projector, and on the forward wall, there's this black and white movie playing. And what does he see? Here he is right here. Test pilot Ellison Onizuka. He sees 2 dead alien corpses on slabs, and with the other 12 pilots, and they're all watching this. And he says to himself, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing this. He thought that in his mind. This is what is in the report here. A few minutes later, the general turns off the movie projector, and all these pilots are in a total state of shock. They really don't know what they just saw. They were not briefed beforehand. There was no debrief. There was nothing said about this whatsoever. Now, when Ellison was at Wright Field, Dayton, Ohio, Wright-Patterson Air Force, this is years after now, he told a friend named Chris Coffey, who was a friend of Leonard Stringfield. He told Chris Coffey all about this, and Leonard was just about to interview astronaut Ellison Onizuka about all this. We were just about ready to get this. And I want to also tie this in as well. Witness says that top secret UFO library existed at McClellan Air Force Base. David Armstrong claims his aunt used to work for a top-secret UFO records library at McClellan Air Force Base. In his 20s, Armstrong went to visit her, and knowing he had an interest in the subject, Armstrong says his aunt let him take a look at these files. So there's something here. Not only do they have these film reels, but there's files and photographs at McClellan Air Force Base. So this is another repository where they keep all this. Now, getting back to the pilot who became an astronaut, Leonard Stringfield was within 2 weeks of interviewing this astronaut, but he died in the Challenger explosion.
That's what I thought. I knew I'd recognize that fellow before.
That's right. January 28th, 1986, where they were lost in the Challenger explosion. We were within 2 weeks of getting valuable testimony from a reliable witness, but it was taken away from us. So again, this keeps on happening again and again. The evidence is always 2 steps ahead of us here. And here we've got Challenger here. Okay, next one. This is reference number 39. According to Bette Schilling, an Air Force officer told her details regarding a UFO that crashed in the Ohio area between 1973 and 1974. The source indicated that 3 bodies were recovered, which were brought back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The source also indicated that one of the aliens was still alive and lived for an additional week after the retrieval operation. So this is Air Force officer via Bette Schilling. This is all part of the Stringfield collection. And we'll move on to the next one here. Now, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, 1974. This is page 327. Now, this had to do with a new hire at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. She was at a dinner party engagement near the base. Coincidentally, her boss was at the same dinner engagement. And as they're talking with other people at this party, the subject of UFOs came up. And, she didn't really think too much about it. She didn't know too many details and everything. And the boss turns to this new hire and he says, "You know what? Do you want to see the evidence?" And she turns to him and says, "You mean now?" And the guy says, "Yeah, now." So
of course.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, of course she would say yes.
Yeah.
I would.
So he drives her to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And now this guy, keep in mind, this guy had the right clearances, and he had a magnetic key card, which allowed him access. So when they got there, he put his key card into the slot, and that opened up a door. They went into another room with another key card entry, magnetic strip key card, went into another door. And when they got into the next room, it was an underground morgue. He opened up one of these latching devices, and out comes this 3.5 to 4 foot tall alien corpse in a body bag, oversized head, oversized eyes, and she's looking at this thing. And this is page 327. You can read all about this case. I mean, it's
the
crazy.
Elongated skull.
Yep. So
large eyes.
When we see these senators and congressmen at these hearings that we've seen now a couple months back, right, and they say, well, we don't know anything about this. We don't have any physical evidence. We don't have any debris. We don't have any bodies. Oh, yeah? Why don't you challenge this lady? She saw it. So we've got 10 separate cases of these bodies being brought here, this debris, the craft, the motion picture film reels, the black and white 8x10 glossies. They've got it. They've got the evidence. All right, next one. Coyome, Mexico, August 25th, 1974. The Coyome incident, UFO crash near Presidio, Texas, by Noe Torres and my good friend Ruben, who gave me the details on this particular crash retrieval. Now, I want to mention this up front. These type of retrievals represent the deepest black of the black programs within the United States government. It is the crash retrievals that the United States government, what they do is they pull it out from under the nose of other countries. They are the deepest of the deepest black programs. I mean, when you snatch one of these discs from a foreign country without them agreeing to it, now you're pushing it at that point.
Right.
All right. So what we have here is we have a Cessna 172 that is heading southbound across the Texas-Mexican border. There was a dish-shaped craft that was tracked on radar going 2,000 miles an hour heading northbound, and you can see where this is going. There was a mid-air collision, and both of them crashed. And again, this is August 25th, 1974. And I'm going to show you the location here. An unknown object was being tracked going 2,530 miles an hour at an altitude of 75,000 feet heading north toward Texas. So there was a midair collision. They both crashed. They both went to the ground. This is on the Mexican side now. This is not America. This is in Mexico. And the military intelligence community, including the CIA, they were monitoring the Mexican soldier radio traffic while all this is going on. And they actually sent out a reconnaissance plane to look at all this. So what did they end up seeing here?
Hey, Michael.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I've got a question coming from backstage.
Go ahead.
Could the U.S. bring bodies from other countries along with these crash retrievals? That's a good question.
You mean the alleged extraterrestrial bodies?
Yeah.
Absolutely. You don't think they're going to leave bodies behind?
That's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the United States government will stop at nothing to acquire this technology. I don't care what it takes. They will do anything to retrieve this technology, the bodies, the craft, the debris, all of it. They're not going to leave anything to chance. And when you have something happening on a foreign soil, it is the deepest black of the black to snatch something out from under the nose of another government. And that's what they've done here. National Security Agency was involved, and they were monitoring the traffic as well.
Now, is this some of the research that Ruben and Tori have done?
Yes, credit goes to them. That's why I put their book way up front, because I want to give them credit for getting all this information out. Now, the only problem is they don't really have an illustration of the crash scene.
Right.
And so that's where we come in here. We want to try to illustrate what was actually going on. Now, this was done under the direction of Ruben. So what you're getting here, I believe, is the most accurate representation of what actually went on. So, I'm going to show you the drawing, but I want to set up the scene. So you've got this dish-shaped craft that crashed on the Mexican side of the border. The Mexican army got there first. And you've got like a troop transport. You've got a couple of Jeeps. You've got an 18-wheeler tractor trailer. They're loading the craft onto the trailer, and now they're moving out of the location. They're getting this thing hurried out of there. They don't want to let this thing lay out there. So they have a convoy. The convoy's moving. And then, Jim, you want to guess what happened next?
Well, they brought it back to the States.
Nope, they never made it that far.
Oh, they didn't bring it that far.
The Mexican soldiers, they never made it that far. They stopped dead in their tracks. Something happened, and the convoy came to a screeching halt. At that point, there were 3 Bell UH-1 Hueys deployed from America, including one massive CH-53 Sea Stallion. And when they got there, this is what they saw. All of the Mexican army personnel were dead, laying on the ground. One of them was slumped over on the driver's side. He was dead. The driver in the 18-wheeler tractor trailer, he was dead. There were 3 other people dead, laying on the ground. The American military believed that there was some type of biological agent associated with this crash retrieval. So they got there with hazmat suits, and they stole this UFO, essentially. They hoisted it up on the CH-53, and they flew it out of there. And that's essentially, in a nutshell, how this case went down.
This is information that no one is going to know about unless you read books and
unless you read Ruben's Noe's book. Yeah, you wouldn't know it because they don't advertise this. These are the deepest black of the black when they snatch things from other governments, and that's what they did here.
This is like science fiction, Michael.
Well, it's been documented.
I know. I mean, this is like Steven Spielberg stuff.
Yeah.
But this is documented.
This is documented.
It actually took place. Yes.
Yep. Documented in the book. Now you can imagine what it would be like to come across on the scene. Let's just say that you're one of these helicopter pilots and you're told to go to this operation here, and when you land, you see all these Mexican soldiers just laying dead on the ground. And there was some type of contamination, radiation, biological hazard. There's some information in the book that talks about how this craft was brought back to CDC headquarters. So we're talking about a virus. We're talking about some type of biological agent going on with this craft that caused all these Mexican soldiers to just die immediately. Within a matter of minutes, they were gone.
Could have been some lethal energy of some sort, some exotic energy extruding from the craft itself, maybe its propulsion system or something.
That's very possible. So, I mean, you can see how deep, black, and secret this is. All right, so now let's continue on here. Fort Dix, McGuire Air Force Base, New Jersey, January 18th, 1978, page 131. Another very controversial case. There's a lot of people who believe that this might not be actually true. And it's possible. It could be, except for the fact that George Filer was there the morning this happened, and he was a part of all the commotion where these UFOs were seen over the base the very early morning of the night before. So he was kind of a secondary participant in this case. So
George Filer was a member of MUFON for years.
In New Jersey, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading the Filer's Files every month.
Files, that's right.
Yeah, you remember that, yeah.
So there was a UFO sighting over the base. There were about 10 different craft hovering over the base. There was an MP who was kind of on a perimeter road that was making the rounds. And what he ended up seeing is something emerging from the darkness. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the map here so you can see this perimeter area. We've got Gate 5, we've got Fort Dix, and then we've got the dirt road, and then X marks the approximate area where this incident took place. Now, I guess we can call it an alien, but something emerged from the darkness, and this MP screeched to a halt. He got out of the vehicle. He brought his 45 pistol out of the holster, and he shot this being, which climbed over the fence from the Fort Dix side of the base to the McGuire Air Force Base and was found dead at one of the old runways. Site of dead bodies. So that's our scene here. Now, the next thing that happened is what they ended up doing is they took the body, they put it on a platform, they built a wooden crate, put the body in the crate, then they put the crate into a metal container, they sprayed it with something, and then a C-141 transport plane came from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, loaded up the container with the crate inside, and then flew it back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. So that's now 12 of these cases where the bodies and craft are being flown back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now I'm going to take you to the scene now and show you what this looks like. Here's Brody Road, and I believe that this is the approximate area of where this incident took place. And now we're going to go to the drawing here. This is by Rudy Gardia. You can see on the upper left, building the crate. Here is the shot that was fired. The being crawled over the fence and then died on the other side. And then the upper right detail view is the aft end of the cargo bay opened on the C-141, loading in the cylinder with the crate inside. And that's how this case went down.
Wow. Hey, what about European countries? Have we retrieved anything from overseas, or is this just...
Well, there was an alleged crash in Spitsbergen, Germany, which is still controversial to this day. And these crashes are universal. They are international. We don't hear too much about European cases, but the Russians have their own retrieval cases as well. It's debatable how much they share information between each other, because as you can imagine, this would give any government not only a heads up, but a complete advantage if you could reverse engineer the propulsion system on these craft. You would be impervious to anybody if you had this technology. You would be truly master of the universe, and you would control the high ground. All right, we'll move on to the next case.
Yeah, we're down to about 5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay. So we've got the C-141 Starlifter. This is the craft that flew the body back to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. A couple more here. This is Marina Popovich, Soviet Air Force colonel, engineer, and decorated test pilot. Great woman. She's no longer with us.
I've heard of her.
She talked about a very interesting UFO encounter that involved 2 MiG-23 jet fighters. And this information was highlighted and brought out by Major General Igor Maltsev, Commander-Chief of the Soviet Air Defense Troops. So this is the gentleman, is the source of information. And through Marina, we got this information from this general here. Now, what does this entail? This is March 21st, 1990, near Moscow. And this is in the Stringfield collection. 2 MiG-23 scrambled to intercept a 650-foot diameter flying saucer. So not only, and we talked about this, not only is it happening in America, but it's happening in Russia as well. So it's international. A 650-foot diameter flying saucer. And you can bet they got the gun camera footage rolling, probably have a film reel of this encounter. Wouldn't we like to see that? That would be nice to get that one. A couple other quick cases here. This is reference 16, alien autopsy performed at Walter Reed Hospital. The cadaver was described as being 3 feet in height with a large head, protruding brow, sunken eyes, which were wrapped around to the side of the face, very long arms, gray skin. And this is sourced pathologist at the Cleveland Clinic via Danley Tytko, date 1952-1953, from Kingman. That's the question. Now, what is the specs we're talking about here? Bottom line is, what do these aliens look like? So these are the descriptions from the pathologist. Run through these quickly here. Number 1, 3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. 2 round almond-shaped sunken in his eyes without pupils. Number 3, heavy brow ridge. Large hairless head by human standards. No earlobes, no definitive nose. Small slit for a mouth. Very thin neck, small torso. Arms described as long and thin. Hands having 4 fingers without thumbs. Short and thin legs. Skin color, beige, tan, brown, tan, pinkish gray. So this is, again, the description from the pathologist's report. Now, what I want to do for everyone here is I want to give you the best sketch that I believe has ever been done based on this pathologist's report, and this is what these things look like. These are what the beings look like. They've got webbing between their fingers, no opposing thumb, almost like a gangly, emaciated body, very long arms, oversized head, oversized eyes, and heavy brow ridge. This is a very accurate, detailed drawing based on the pathologist's report.
And how tall are these beings?
3.5 to 4.5 feet tall. This is what they look like. As close representation that we can get. Yeah. This is what we're looking at here. And I think we've got time for one more here.
Yeah.
Within the Stringfield collection is a reference to the Vatican archives in Italy. What does the Vatican have? What do they know? When did they know it? Now, we've all heard that the Vatican has a vast archives. I mean, going back hundreds of years, could be thousands of years for all we know. Within the Stringfield collection is a reference to something called the White Book. Don't know exactly what that is. It's probably mankind's interaction with extraterrestrials over hundreds, maybe thousands of years.
Yeah.
In this report, within the Stringfield collection, is a reference to the fact that they may have a recovered alien craft in the Vatican archives. So what I want to do now is, Jim, I want to take you and your audience inside the Vatican. I'm going to take you to the secret archives, and I'm going to show you what they have, from the best that we can determine what they have. And here we are. So we're now inside the archives. We've got the Pope here. We've got all of the interesting books. We've got the scrolls from the Library of Alexandria. We've got the extremely old binders. Over on the left, we've got an Egyptian sarcophagus. Again, we've got the scrolls from the Library of Alexandria. We've got the Mayan and Inca treasures. We've got an Olmec head, and then rising above it all, we've got the saucer that's mentioned in the report. So this is a part of this Vatican Archives White Book report.
Would millions and millions of people be interested in this?
Yep. It would be the holy grail of all the information, because
it sure would.
The Vatican,
it would be. Well, we're out of time, Michael.
Yep.
And again, this hour goes by so fast. Mike, is there somewhere online on YouTube that listeners can go and check out the rest of your research? And
sure.
That is,
you can go to Blue Room Media. That's my YouTube channel. And
Blue Room Media.
Blue Room Media. That's right.
And do you have, besides Blue Room Media, do you have a web page or?
I really don't have a web page, no.
Okay, so Blue Room Media on YouTube.
That's right.
Yes, and when you go there, please subscribe, the same as you would right here on Dark Window. Please like us and subscribe so we can continue bringing guests in and having these fascinating conversations. So on behalf of Michael, myself, and Patricia, behind the scenes, my program manager, thank you for watching Dark Window, and we will catch you again next week. Thank you very much. Good night.